Alright guys, it's time for another episode of Live at 9:45 with Van Ord Customs. And I'm here to interview Josh Thiede tonight. And so if you're in right now in all of this stuff, give me a like, hit the smile button, hit the wow button, whatever it is, hit any of those things and let me know you're there. Additionally, post up and tell us where you're watching from, start the conversation, do those things. Josh is in the video area, and so I will get him pulled in and kind of get going, and we'll get everything started here. So give me just a second, guys. All right, I've hit the button. He's coming on, and we'll get this thing fired up. So hey, Josh, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on?
Nice. So for just a second, I want to talk a little bit about what exactly we're here doing. So my name's Adam Van Ord. I am hosting this whole Live at 9:45 thing, where I interview prominent people in the RC community, people who've been around a while. Also, I'd love to interview some people who haven't necessarily been around for a while and kind of spotlight some really cool stuff that I see out there. So I'm always looking for that and trying to promote that as well. I guess that means we're going to get started here. So, Josh, how's it going?
Everything's going pretty good. A little earlier on my side of the country than yours, I think, but it's been a busy day, so
Awesome.
Just wrapping up.
Nice. So my first question is always can you tell us a little bit about yourself as I turn up my volume here?
Oh, yeah. So I'm originally from Nebraska, actually, small town in Nebraska. It's called Fort Calhoun. There was about 800 people in my hometown. I had like 39 kids in my graduating class. So it's a small town north of Omaha. Anyway, so grew up in that, went to school at University of Nebraska I went there for engineering. Mm-hmm. So after I graduated from Nebraska, I looking for a job and found an opportunity in Kansas City. So I moved to Kansas City right out of college, and I was there for almost 10 years. And that's kind of where, as far as anything that started in, as far as me and RC, was mainly in the Kansas City area. And then my wife and I moved out to California at the very beginning of 2016. So I've been out in California now for a couple of years, but that's my broad strokes as far as about me.
Awesome. Thanks, man. So you mentioned a little bit that your hobby interests started in Kansas City. So how long have you been in the hobby?
So yeah, as far as like getting kind of more serious about it was in Kansas City. I didn't start in like hobby grade RC until 2004. Okay. I didn't really grow up around any sort of hobby grade or anything like that. I was looking for something around that time in 2004 and ran across RC Crawler. Actually, I was actually looking for I was trying to decide between a Traxxas T-Max and a HPI Savage. So, that's what I was going to buy. I wanted something that was, you could bolt all of the crazy colored aluminum parts to and make this. And I was on RC Universe, the old RC Universe forums, kind of looking around, and there was a post about a new forum that was, about RC rock crawling. So, and there was, like one video of these guys crawling these things through a ditch. And it was just, I don't know why it caught my interest at the time, but I was super interested. And that's when that was the new forum was going to be RC Crawler. RC Crawler started officially in January of 2004. I think I saw Scobie in here, Jacob. I think he might be one of the only ones that was on RCC in here before me. He was like he might have been double digit user IDs, but I think I was like in the couple hundreds. There was only a couple hundred people who had registered on that site before I had. And so, that was, and I just never, so when I got into hobby grade RC, it was to do RC crawling. I've tried to do something that goes fast before. It's not for me. I don't belong there. So this is where I started, and this is where I want to be.
Awesome, man. my story is relatively similar, and the whole looking at monster trucks, landing on crawling, and then tried some fast stuff and always fall back here. So it's definitely where I feel comfortable. It's my home, and I love it a lot. What or who got you into the hobby in the first place? Like, what was the draw?
You know, I saw a couple of those videos, and so at the time, RC Crawler was like super. I mean, there was a small group of guys. You know, while I might have been like the couple hundred users, you know, registered, there was not that many people active. It was the Wild West on there. The guy who was like the most influential on there, though, had the screen name Dirk Diggler, and Dirk Diggler's real name was Peter Bach, and the guy was super helpful. And there's actually, you have a question on here later that I'll kind of have to rearrange up to here. I was having like a ton of problems registering for RC Crawler, and I couldn't get it. I was trying doing this and that. You know, I tried registering like 3 times with. I remember some of the names. They were terrible names. It was just like, you know, you see so many people register for forums, and they register with like the name of the SCX 10-2 Honcho Matt. You know, it's like, well, you're probably going to have another car. Maybe you shouldn't narrow your screen name down. But that's probably for us, you know, old school guys who are forum guys now. But so like my third attempt to register, I landed on Harley 0706 because at the time I rode a Harley. You know, I was like 18, so that was 19, whatever I was. I'd have to do the math. But Dirk Diggler, he called me to help. I couldn't get registered, and called me, helped me figure out something on the back end, whatever it was, and he got me taken care of. It was just him, and then the guys that were on there, they're all kind of the guys that were the biggest thing that got me started back then. But he had built these crazy crawling things. You know, we didn't know what worked then. You know, we were trying everything. So he had just some of the coolest stuff. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. And so, yeah, the one question that you hit on that I had for later was where did the Harley name come from? And I like seriously always wondered that. Like,
yeah,
I was
most people just think it's my name. So, you know, I respond to it. I think most of my close friends probably have me saved in their phone as like Josh Harley. Like they even think probably because nobody can say my last name. But
fair enough. So what was your first hobby grade RC vehicle?
It was that Tamiya TXT.
Right.
I bought it on eBay, and it was 2004. It would have been July-ish because I bought it like as a birthday present for myself or whatever it was. It was a used Tamiya TXT, and it had a yellow Hummer body on it, and came with the stock blue and yellow thing body. Yeah, that was my first one. I didn't grow up around it. I got that and tore into it to try and make it crawl.
Nice, that's awesome. So if you weren't in RC, what would your hobby of choice be?
You know, it's like, it probably depends on when you ask me. It's RC is like the only thing that is a constant for me. You know, right now it's like, if I wasn't doing RC, it would be filming something else that I had a lot of interest in. Like the filming side of things right now is like what has me like the most like into it. You know, I'm researching film styles and things like that, and what video gear is the best for this or for that. So it seems like I would be filming something for off-road. That would probably be what I would try and spend my time doing.
Yeah, nice. So a couple of simple questions. Do you prefer big tires or small tires? So,
right. I like appropriate tires.
Good answer.
You know, whatever fits the style. You know, putting 4.1s on a fully tubed out looking buggy wouldn't seem appropriate to me. You know, and I always love to argue just with anybody in general. But you know, the argument is always, you know, I like the small tires, it makes it more challenging. Like, well, or just go hit a more challenging line with your bigger tires. It's now, granted, if you're, you know, coming from Nebraska, there was nothing to crawl. So I get, having no running a small, there's nothing to do. You have to build it. But I like to build whatever is appropriate for it. I put a smaller tire on my honcho this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, just whatever works.
Awesome. That's perfect. So if you are watching, just comment up big tires, small tires. Tell us what you run. Next question for you would be brushed or brushless, and why?
I'm brushless now. It's, I put a brushed motor in this new honcho build that I've been doing lately, because that's a weird budget format, and it doesn't really lend itself to throwing in a brushless censored system. So I only run brushless if, you can only run it one way or whatever, but it's no maintenance. It's tons of power if you want it, or you can run super low KV if you want it. Holmes has long motors and short motors, and if you want low power, you can run low power. If Castle's got those little 1406 short stubby things, which are nice, small, low power stuff for lower KV. So you have some slower options, not low power. I actually do like those motors, but so I run them all. But I do like to go brushless when I can.
Right. I just picked up one of those Castle ones. It's sitting in a box, ready to go in my truck. So I'm curious to see how it works out for me.
Yeah, I've ran them. I like them.
Yeah.
That new Mamba X is a great little ESC too.
Yeah, I agree completely. What do you like the most about the RC community, RC in general?
I guess I like the full-size world, the most. And at this point, as we go and everything, it's just that anything that we see, and even as the one-to-one side progresses, like Ultra 4 specifically, I try to follow that as much as I can. It's just, they're progressing. They're doing crazy technology and build styles, so much desert truck style in the cage design, and all of that, you can apply all of it. So if you want to get crazy into learning about anti-squat numbers and how to set up it all applies. So you can learn it all, and it all applies. I like the tech, and anymore where the whole hobby is getting so crazy that you can do anything that you see in the big boys land.
Yeah, I agree. So if you can see it and it's out there, usually you can kind of, a lot of the stuff's out there to get you at least started in the direction, and then you can kind of build and fabricate to your liking and get where you need to be.
Yeah.
My next question is, do you currently hold a job inside of the RC field? And if so, what is it?
Right. So I work full-time at Vanquish. So I started here when my wife and I moved out here in the beginning of 2016. It was for this. We sold our house in Kansas City. I quit my job as a professional civil engineer and moved out here to do this full time. It's one of those things that I've been working in RC since 2007 in some way. When I moved to, being an engineer, it's like, I needed a part, so I started drawing it. I sat in CAD all day as an engineer. So, I'd start drawing whatever I want. And I loved RC Crawler, so I posted all my builds and all my designs on there. And when it started, it was TCS, the crawler store out of Arizona, ran by Kevin down there. And Kevin had contacted me, and this was right about when the Wheelie King came out. And I had posted up, a Wheelie King servo mount. And because if the Wheelie King, if anybody remembers, it had this weird chassis mounted servo, like way in the front. And it had this linkage that came back to a bell crank, to another linkage, to another bell crank on the axle. It was crazy. And it was not, when the Wheelie King first came out, it was 2-wheel drive only. You had to buy 2 of them and take all the guts out of one and put it in the other. So, came up with that and posted it up. And Kevin had contacted me and said, hey, would you be interested in doing some design work? Absolutely. So, that's when I started getting a paycheck for crawling, for RC at least. And then, since then I've done, I designed for TCS for a long time. I did some stuff for, different, Axial. I did the rip saws. I did just little projects for different companies here and there. Especially back then, CAD, for one, there wasn't, like Fusion 360 now is awesome and it's free now. But back then you couldn't really get free CAD software. So I had an opportunity there through work. I could draw whatever I needed, and I had self-taught myself CAD and 3D. So if you knew that at that time, you really had a huge leg up.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it's amazing with the developments and advances in technology, how everything's kind of more open and accessible. So then you have more opportunities to learn that and to get at it and to apply your skills, even if you aren't like well trained in that area, if it's not your field in the first place. How many RC trucks do you have? And then I have a follow-up question to that as well, and that's how many have you built over the course of time that you were in this?
I don't know how many I have, especially most that I have aren't together. So yeah, like I don't know how you count them, but I also I don't keep that. I don't get attached to them. And actually, like most things I do, I dislike shortly after I do them. I'm just like, I should have done that different. I could do that better now. Everything you do, even like any video I do, if it's older than a month ago, I hate it. It's the worst thing I've ever done. I can't stand watching it. I don't want to see it ever again. So it's just like I want to always do something, but it's just one of those things. I don't get that attached to them. So I bet I have less than 10.
Yeah, I think I'm hovering around that number, and I tend to not be incredibly attached, but I get attached to parts and pieces. Like the one over here, I'm definitely attached to. Like I don't think I can let it go. There's too much time and energy in it. I'm not so sure it can go anywhere. But other stuff I can sell like it's nothing.
Right. And I have a, let's see. So I have a million like little things that I always have an idea of something I want to do at some point in the future. So I try and, take notes or whatever. Yeah. At one point, which I'm trying to find out if I may not have it anymore, but I was trying to see. I may have lost it actually. Not too long ago, my Jeep had got broken into. My Doodlebug. I loved my Doodlebug. That one was fun, but I sold it too. Damn, I can't find it. Anyway, a while ago, my Jeep got broken into, and my old tablet was in my backpack, and it was stolen. And I think it had my note on. I had gone through and like mentally tried to remember every RC car I had owned since, and I mean. I think I could like remember like a few hundred, like remember. I can't remember somebody's name who I met 10 minutes ago, but I remember that RC18 that I traded for whatever. But
oh, I'm sure. That's how my mind works. I can remember lots of things I shouldn't, and none of the stuff I'm supposed to.
Right. So, growing up, I could associate anybody with like the car they drove. Like that was the only way I could remember them. Like, oh yeah, like the '79 Malibu. There, all right, I remember that. So,
I'm getting lots of laughs and likes. So if you're watching and that's how you associated people by what car they drove, because that was totally me. Like I knew everybody's car, I still do. And so just give us a like or something in there if that's what's going on. My next question for you would be kind of centered around the video stuff. And so you have a pretty large YouTube portfolio. You're posting videos on the regular on Facebook and doing all of those things. So how long have you been shooting and editing the video and all of that?
I don't remember when I like started really editing.
Yeah.
It's kind of foggy to me. I used to do some like really basic videos mainly for Futaba stuff. So when like Futaba came out, Futaba menus, as much as I love all things Futaba, their menus not the most intuitist. That's not a word. Whatever the word I'm trying to say is.
Intuitive, maybe?
Intuitive. There it is. Not intuitist.
There it is.
Yeah, intuitive. Not the most intuitive menus. So I made videos for people how to program this function or that function. And, you know, they were little things. But it was on a channel that I would somehow I had started sharing a YouTube channel with a friend I went to college with. And he had named it at the time, and it was called Bird Reynolds. And I had like taken it over, but at the time I was just like, I cannot have a YouTube channel named Bird Reynolds. So I had, you know, I had a Facebook page even way back then. I started a Facebook page in like, I don't know, 2009 or 10. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. And I was really trying to just brand myself. Right. I wanted everything to be consistently branded and go through the whole thing. This was before you could like just change how your channel showed up on YouTube. Like now you can have your channel named Bird Reynolds and it will show Harley Designs, but the URL will still be funky. So, so I used, I started a new YouTube channel with Harley Designs or Harley Designs Inc. because Harley Designs was taken. And then that kind of just, I kind of took that through everything, but I started Harley Designs Inc., the YouTube channel, I think in 2011, or somewhere right around there. And had, I was just kind of putting videos on it. More than anything, I really wasn't concerned about making a bunch of videos at the time. I just wanted it to be branded as my videos when people watched them. And then I started making some more videos, I think probably around 2012, 2013 maybe. So it's it was right in there. And then from there I started trying to, you know, at first when I started to like make videos, I was trying to shoot everything on my Samsung Note. And I shot it and edited it on my phone and then just uploaded them. I'm getting texts and messages from guys from RC Crawler from back then. It's kind of awesome. Anyway, so I was trying to do that, and then later on in 2013, I ended up buying a Apple MacBook Air.
Yeah.
And everything from then till this last Christmas was edited on that MacBook Air. And most of the things were filmed on there, just from the camera on the MacBook Air. I would set up my computer in front of me, and I would record directly from it. So most of the stuff that was like bench top stuff, it was just the built-in, and I just used iMovie, which was the built-in software.
Yeah.
And went from there.
And so that's one of the nice things about Apple products, and I'm not trying to pitch Apple products, but dude, I am slowly learning the capabilities of my iPhone are vast, like way more than I ever dreamed of. That's how I run this. It's how I do all of my pictures, all of that stuff. And then by adding different things and tweaking different things, it's absolutely amazing. I definitely didn't realize it could get to the level that it is. So my next question would be, what would be like the essential equipment for someone who's just starting out in the scale RC scene who wants to do some kind of videos and maybe start their own YouTube channel or post them up on Facebook and have something of like a little bit decent quality? Like what would you say, like, here are your go-tos?
I mean, honestly, like I would say that what you should try and get first is a computer with some software. If you get a MacBook Air, is fairly inexpensive, but even like a regular Windows laptop with iMovie or Windows Movie Maker will work. Yep. Editing on a computer, I think, is what you should do. But from there, most phones have really good cameras in them. That's all. If you had a phone and a editing software, a platform to do decent editing, you could do most everything that I do. You know, if you wanted to like step up you could like drastically step up the production feel or the look of how it went with buying one of the inexpensive iPhone gimbals. You can get them for between 99 and $200, and it makes everything nice and smooth. And with just that, you could make some really, really nice like running videos. You don't need that stuff for benchtop videos. You can just get a decent look there and go.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you. We kind of talked a little bit about editing software. What software specifically do you use?
So now I edit on Final Cut Pro 10. So I use Final Cut Pro and Apple Motion 5. So Apple Motion's for like creating some more in-depth intros or motion tracking something if you wanted to try and have a tag follow a piece of whatever. You use it for all different kinds of things. And then so I use those two things for like the actual software. Then I have like a couple of plugins that I find useful for like LUT tables, which are how you like color grade the video to give it a better look and highlight different color tones and things like that. Try and make sure that I shoot with a pretty flat color profile and then color grade from there.
All right. So what would be your favorite style of RC video? And I'm referring to like you have done different stuff in the past, from budget builds to event coverage, you name it. What's your favorite style of video?
I got a phone call in the middle of that, but what I gathered mostly from that was what my favorite style was, right?
Yeah.
I would say honestly my favorite like style to watch or to do it is almost like call it the vlog style, where it's a little bit of discussing what you're going to do. It's like more like showing how you would if it's at an event or whatever, like discussing what you're going to do, taking what you are, go there, a little bit of event coverage, maybe some. Yeah. I find that the most fun to watch. I don't watch a ton of RC running videos. I don't care for how most of them are. I find it painful to watch some of them. Mm-hmm. I don't. It's just not how I like some of them that are like super well produced or like super cool angle. That stuff is pretty awesome. But you just don't. It's hard to find stuff that's people put a ton of effort into or things like that.
Right.
And then tech videos, I find myself watching for for certain things, but usually they're non-RC related to try and learn something for what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome. So two of the things that I've been watching a lot lately that you've been putting out are first off, the budget build that you and Matt are doing and going back and forth. Freaking hilarious between the two of you. It's amazing. I love it. But additionally, you're also doing the scale news stuff. And so my bigger question is, like, you're involved with the budget build off. For people who are watching this who maybe don't know or don't know a lot about the budget build off, haven't been following along, what exactly is that? Like, why budget build off? What is it? And all of that.
Right. So as far as like what it is anyway, it's a schedule. It's basically, so it's the fourth one I've actually done. The three before were not. Anyway, I keep getting a phone call. Anyway, it's the fourth one that I've done. The first three were not a collaboration, but they're $50 a week, and it's just the best truck you can build on $50 a week as a budget. So even when I started doing them, like I liked to build nice trucks. So I wanted to use good parts, but I wanted to try and appeal to people that were trying to build a nice truck without all of the help of, the various supporters that I had at the time.
Right.
So it seemed like a good idea. And it was something I just came up with randomly and started running with it, and it was super popular. They're by far the most popular like series thing I do. It's when I go to events and people meet me or things like that, it's generally because of a budget build. They're like, oh, I watched you on the budget build, or remember you from like my discovery rate is highest on those videos for sure.
Right.
And then
they're super enjoyable. Seriously, as someone who's watching, like, I like that it's like a quick bit of tech, but yet at the same point, like, you're giving the reason why, and I think that gets overlooked a lot. Like, why would you spend money on this versus this? And so that's real cool.
Right. You know, and it's always kind of they're a difficult series to produce. It's hard to have enough content, get the things that it's not hard to spend $50 a week. That's the easiest thing you could ever do. But to try and make the series halfway enjoyable to watch, have a reasonable path. Like I do drive that truck, so you know I can't just throw a bunch of stuff on it that you know is going to cause, you know, like I installed links on that car, but I left the plastic steering link on the tie rod because it's, you know, I know that I'll blow up that tactic servo if I don't. So by all means, I think that metal links are a good upgrade, but don't install this front one. So it's, you know, and then it's just a lot of shooting a video every week can be difficult anyway, especially when you have to shoot, you know, get the parts, install the parts, edit the video, have it on time. You know, Matt's in here right now. Matt, I think knows how much how much work they're taking. He's like, he's asked me, hey, how long are we doing this? Like I have other stuff to do, and I'm not getting any of it done.
Yeah.
So we haven't decided that. I'm sure, you know, we'll see how that goes. But I enjoy it, and I've never enjoyed one as much as I have while doing it alongside of Matt, because it's like a little bit of friendly back and forth. I don't want to have my video suck when his is going to be awesome, or if mine is going to suck, like installing, I can't remember what it was a couple of weeks ago. It was installing the stainless links. So the incision links, they're like, this is a good upgrade, but they're $50, basically $55. Like, how do you say I installed links and make that make that interesting? So it's like, well, Matt will probably have a good week. He can take a little bit of pressure off me.
Right. Yeah.
So it's this one's been a blast. It's the first time I've really done any sort of collaboration on YouTube. It makes me want to do more. The whole deal. So
awesome. So if you're watching, like for the budget builds, if you watch them, if you see them, if you've seen them, if you think that these guys need to keep doing them, support them, because Matt's in here, he's showing comments, Josh is right here. They're putting in some serious effort, guys. Like, editing videos takes forever. It's definitely no joke. Okay, so time to switch gears just a little bit. What is your favorite RC car that you have ever built?
That I have ever built?
Yeah, that you put the time, the effort,
right.
You did it all. What's your favorite?
It's definitely that Scout 800 I built. It was the Scout 800 Woods Runner. It was built to look like there was a full-size Scout 800 Woods Runner. I didn't come up with the name. That's what his was called, so I called it that.
Right.
You know, and I built. The guy was out of. I think his name was Cody Sears, who built the full-size one out of Colorado Springs. Anyway, it was just a beautiful Scout, and I didn't like Scout. I didn't even know. I probably did not know what a Scout 800 was before that. But that was a cool build, and I loved it. So I, drew up the CAD of the actual cage, every tube, and then made templates for how every tube would be built. And I'd done that a number of times. And then I'd host all those templates for those chassis are on my website. So like I get pictures, like people message me all the time of cages people build with the templates.
Yes,
which is awesome. But that one was my favorite. I built metal body panels for it. So it had all steel there, and then I played around with a lot of different things, and it had a front mounted motor and a TK style skid. Yep. And it was just it had a full depth interior, the whole thing. And, now I look at it and I'm just like, ugh, I could do that so much better now. So, and it's what was it? Last night or the night before, that new show from Aaron Kaufman from he was from one of the garage show, gas.
Yeah, he was from Gas Monkey, and I totally missed it. I knew it was coming, and
I didn't see it either. I don't watch a lot of TV really, but I got tagged in like 10 pictures afterwards of that Scout that he built for KOH, and I got a bunch of pictures sent to me from KOH of the Scout, and it was, it's definitely something I need to build again. I loved that 800, and it's definitely something I'll get back into. So I even bought a full-size Scout just to do something similar.
That's awesome.
It is still in Missouri though.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Life gets in the way, man. So who are your influences in the scale crawling of segment of our hobby? And if you had to pick someone or a couple people who you would say, hey, interview this person, who would they be?
So I definitely didn't get this far down in the list of questions. The influences, man, that's hard. It's like, I look at tons of people's stuff, and it's just like, I see so many things that so many of them do, and I'm just like, I am never going to do that. But that is really cool. Like some of the stuff the Scale Builders Guild guys are doing, they had, this kind of goes back to another one of the questions that I did see on here, like my favorite truck that I didn't build, I think.
Right, yeah, no, that's the next one. Everybody always has a really hard time with that one. If you have one, I will be blown away because everybody.
I actually have like 3 for different reasons.
Yeah, perfect.
So, to kind of tie back to the question about like who influences, I don't know if it's like an influence. They're just like people I admire what they do, not things that I would like try. I want to try and do what they do though, because it's like either it's just not my style of things that I want to build, or how I want to build, or how I want to drive, but. So it's, pardon my noob, Richard. Anyway,
Richard
he's got the a hard body Jeep Cherokee that's like a teal green or like a blue green that looks crazy stock, like duct taped rear window with the plastic. It's like my favorite car right now. Like but I if I could buy that car, like I don't know that I would. Because it's like I don't enjoy driving that type of car really. Yeah. But like as far as like I don't know, I just admire how awesome that thing is.
Dude, so, I could not agree more. So it came up and it was parked in a garage that he must have
so his scale garage and Smidgens Folly, Smiggins, however he says it. Those two things are on that same level of like, that's amazing.
Right.
I would tear it up and dig ruts in it with a ripper, but it's amazing that he has it, and I can't believe how cool it is. But.
Right. I'm totally with you. So I like triple took on that picture. Like, I looked at it and I was like, no, that's not real. Like, seriously, it was at least 3 times. So
yeah, looking at when he was building that garage with like the scale garage track and the light, it's amazing.
Yeah, totally agree.
But then, kind of like the favorite truck thing. So I have 2 others that are like my soft spot favorite trucks.
Yeah.
One of them was called the Hydro Scorpion. So it was built by a guy named, his screen name was Jason and Augusta. So if you guys remember the Scorpion chassis, full-size one, it was almost like Hummer looking. They built the Nylon after it. One of the Nylons. That was based off the full-size Scorpion chassis. But anyway, he built a car based off of that, or maybe he had the chassis made by John Boyer. I can't remember, it was a long time ago, but what he actually built was he built a fully functioning hydraulic steering. It had a hydraulic pump in the rear, potentiometers on the steer. Do you really, Ryan? One of the guys who is texting me, old big baller from the forum, I think he says he owns it. I did not know that. Awesome. It's just like one of the most amazing things. Like I didn't know anything about electrical engineering back then, or like I remember that is when I learned what a pot was, a potentiometer.
Right.
He built one into the steering so that his hydraulic steering would actually self-center. Things like that is like one of the old school ones that like I've got such a soft spot in it because of how crazy and advanced the build was for the time. You know, it was at the time, I think it was using like Maximizer 2.2 beadlocks and a tire that wasn't all that scale, but that's all we had then.
Right. No, that makes sense.
And then my other favorite is one that was called Ralph. And Ralph was built by a guy on RC Crawler whose screen name was RCK Jeep, Rock Jeep. Anyway, and he built this tube chassis out of, I think it might have been chromoly, maybe 1/4-inch chromoly tubing. And at the time, it was just like, if you searched RC Crawler tuber, because everyone used to call them tubers.
Right.
I think that's kind of gone away now. People don't call, but back then, tuber was what we called anything that was a tube chassis. And it was like the picture. And it was just, it was an amazing build, and it had a lot of scale to it, and it was cool. And there was like a number of things. Jason and Augusta, who built the Scorpion, Hydro Scorpion, he actually ended up owning it for a while, Ralph. And back in the RC Crawler days, there was a guy who's I'm still friends with on Facebook. He bought his name was Pat, 62 Pyro on RC Crawler. He ordered a tube chassis like many of us did back then, and there was only a few guys who could own, who could really build tube chassis. Like it was, again, we put out so much tech now. So many people have learned how to do these things, but back then, it was hard to do. So this guy Claude Stahl was making tube chassis, and Pat received this tube chassis, and I think he just looked at it and he didn't even know what to do. It was so bad. And I think he had a diesel Ford Bronco. Anyway, he parked it in his driveway and he drove over top of it. And he took a video of it while he did it. And people were just like, well, that's, what couldn't have been that bad. But, it's not like you could ever expect it to stand up to that anyway. And Jason and Augusta, who owned Ralph at the time, he was just like, I'll be right back. And he came back and posted up a video where he took Ralph from the shelf, fully ready to run truck, and he parked it in his driveway, and it had IMEX All-Ts on it, which are like a big tire, and Wheelie King axles, and he drove his Chevy 1500 Silverado up on top of the ready to run truck, obviously went down to skid plate on the deck,
right,
and parked his truck there, then got out, took the camera, went around it, pulled off of it, and it was fine. I think he said, like, at the end, he's like, that's Ralph. And it was just, it's one of those videos. I'm positive it's still on YouTube now. And it's one of those videos, just amazing. But those are my two, like, soft spot, old school favorites.
That's awesome, man. I'm pretty sure somewhere along the way, I ran across the video where the truck drove on top of the truck. And I know I've seen that.
It's got like an HPI Wheelie King body cut up as the skins for the chassis itself.
Yeah.
So Jason was a writer for RC Driver, I think, for a long time. He might have even, I'm probably wrong when I say he might have been the editor, but either way. So that's, I think that car made it into the magazine for some reason, maybe like a custom build using Wheelie King axles, and that's why you use the Wheelie King body cut up.
Gotcha. All right, so my next question is, do you compete in scale competitions, and if so, what format do you prefer and why?
Is this a baiting question? No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I know, I'm totally kidding.
I do not want to have that conversation at all.
So, I mean, I'm up for going to any RC event. It's just, if there is a huge event and it's a Sorka event, I'll go there and I'll have a truck that I can run in a Sorka event. Ultra 4, I love the style of, but I can't drive fast. So I tried that and was like, this is not for me. And then, G6ing style events, just going running trails, I love. I can go run them, go have fun. Truly my favorite, honestly, which is going to sound completely out there or weird, doesn't make any sense, but is comp crawling, old school comp crawling. not necessarily scale, but like MOA, the whole deal. I don't own an MOA crawler. I don't own a Sporty. I don't cone dodge at all anymore, but I miss those days more than anything.
Yeah.
Stand in line with all the guys waiting to run a course. And I loved comp crawling. I have intentions of building another comp crawler. I've got a pseudo 3D here that I would love to build. I've got like one RC 4-wheel drive bully axle for it, or rear, I think. Even the front's the wrong one to have. But, it's not, I don't even necessarily want to build one that's super competitive, because just like scale has gone so crazy, the guys that are building comp crawlers now are building insane stuff. And while I don't have the love for the super lightweight stuff that's going on now, mainly because it's just like not, I personally don't love 3D printed stuff, and a lot of it is, it's like a weird thing, but I don't know. I would like to build another comp crawler again, at least to just go have some fun, because it's probably a lot of just nostalgia, just because so many of the best people I know, period, are from the comp crawling days. Like some of the guys that are texting and messaging me now. Like we traveled East Coast to West Coast to race or to climb around on rocks with tiny trucks. And it's just like, it's why I have this job.
Yeah.
So.
No, man. So that is one thing that I've never tried, and I've always wanted to. Like from day one, I've wanted to build a comp crawler, and every time I go to do it, I'm like, and scale crawler, and scale crawler. Like every time, it never fails. Always straight back to the scale world. So,
and it makes a lot of it is like when we started comp crawling, they had some scale looks, they had some scale appeal, and as things went away from, by all means, the why comp crawling maybe lost some of its appeal, and not saying that it might have as many people now as it did at the peak, but it's not seen as the fastest growing part of it. So it had some of that scale, and we did some, we built tube chassis rock, crawlers back then, and while it wasn't what we I'm getting more messages from some of these old school guys. It's awesome. But I do love the scale part of it, and I don't know where to go. I love this, but this is what I do now, and I still love doing this, but I miss this. So
that's awesome. That totally answers all those questions, man. So my next question totally goes also in the direction of old school versus new school. Are you pro forums or pro Facebook, and why?
Man, it's when I was in Kansas City and I sat at a desk all day and pretended to work, I had so much time to be on the forums, and there's nothing better than the forums. Facebook is the worst, but it's like a necessary evil for me. I started a Facebook page early, and I was on that social media train from way back when, and I was like, I wanted to brand what I was doing for whatever reason, even then. It's so I knew that I can't, and it's just like, I want to be able to have a platform that I can put content on, and the most people will see it, because that's the point of, you don't make, you're the, few $100 a month you might get from YouTube ads, is not paying you a very reasonable rate for all of the time it takes to shoot an edit video,
Right.
You get a check every once in a while, and it'll pay for a new kit, but the YouTube money hits the account, you know, and it's like, well, the new TRX4 came out and I need more content, so buy that. So, you know,
Right.
it just ends up all getting rolled back into better camera equipment or whatever. So it's, I need the most people to see it so that I can try and make more in whatever realm it is, whether it's working at Vanquish now. You know, I want to be able to post a picture of a new part and have the most people see it so the most people buy it.
Right.
And it's also this, you know, before I worked here, it's how they knew who I was. So
Right.
it all pays off. I still miss the forum days. Same reason as comp crawling. There is no better repository for information, but I suffer from everything. I run around here with my head cut off, forgetting most of the things I need to do most of the time, and I don't have time to sit and read, you know, check on the forums as much, even though I'll check Facebook 10 times a day for 10 minutes. It's like, I don't know the right answer. I know that I'm wrong, whichever one I'm doing, but it's I bet I still have the most posts on Facebook or on RC Crawler though. I think I had like 20-some thousand RC Crawler posts.
When I started going through the RC Crawler stuff, you were everywhere, and so I had a different job then too, and I'm a teacher, and so at that point I was working in a private facility, and when the kids weren't there, we were required to be there anyway, and I spent full 8-hour days reading stuff on the forum when the kids weren't there, because there was nothing to do. And so literal full 8-hour days, like I would go to work and that was my job for the day, read RCC. And so I mean for a lot of hours, and that's definitely what I was doing, and your stuff was like everywhere. It was like all Josh, so well, or Harley, because I didn't know that was your name then, but so my next question for you is, what advice would you give to someone who is just starting out in this hobby? They go to their hobby shop or they're shopping around online, they pick up their first kit, they got their battery, they plug it in, they start driving, and they're like, now what?
Man, that is a really, really tough question. It's like I have pointed info, you know, like you have it. If you want to buy an SCX-10-2 Honcho, here's some info, and you want to buy that, here's what you do. But that brought, you know, it's like something. There's every question is like, oh, I should make a video about that, but I'm not. It's like, for real, am I going to? Probably not. But the
we'll watch them.
If you're just getting into it, what are you gonna do? It's like read, and not on Facebook. But it's like, what do you read? Like you just open it up at the same time. So it's like you need to find a good friend, you know? It's like you need to find somebody who can help, you know. I've been lucky and had really good hobby shops around me. Find a local club. That would be my, you know, when I started really like getting into it, I was in Kansas City. And Kansas City at that time, KCRC, which is still there, and KCRC was the local club, and that, you know, again, it's like I was probably lucky, you know, but I'm sure a lot of local clubs are good, but KCRC was amazing. And, you know, there was good guys there, and we competed every other weekend in comp crawling, you know, for however many years. And that group has just some had, you know, still does, like the Jerry from the DMG KCRC, you know, Jerry builds crazy stuff out of aluminum. He always had crazy, you know, tube work, and you know, he did a lot of things back then. And I'm getting, that's a good picture. So, you know, Jerry's there. Dinky RC is out of Kansas City. You know, he had a bunch of stuff. He was always trying to do, you know, push it with whatever products he was trying to make. Neil from Freaky Skins is KCRC. So we had a group of guys that were just like fully dedicated. All of those guys, and so including myself, we have 4 guys in that club that have been full-time RC as their profession now, you know. Me being the last to join it full time. I've only been doing it for 2 years full time. Those guys have been doing RC full time now for several years. And it's, you know, that it says something, you know, that not many clubs are going to have that type of situation.
Right.
But, you know, hopefully you can find some guys to just get you that good info, because starting from, there's so much to learn. I recently tried to get into, well, you can say tried in a couple of ways, FPV quadcopters. I was like, I want to do this. And like, so I had some help with one of my coworkers here, you know, list of parts, things like that. You should buy this, you should buy. But then I cannot tell how obsessive I got about, you know, trying to read and watch videos and learn about what this did and that did, and to try and learn it to do. I mean, FPV quads are kind of like, they're in depth when you're wiring and all this. It's pretty crazy. But it's just like, if you had, you know, I'm a big kid, you know, my wife and I, we don't have kids. I work with toys all day. So I go home, I'm like, well, now what? I had fun all day. So now I guess I got to research something else to so, you know, that a lot of people don't have that opportunity. You know, they got to go home and help out. You know, I'm lucky my wife takes care of everything. So, but yeah, that would be my long-winded answer. Everything's long-winded with me.
Perfect. And you know, I tend to agree with you with the fact that people are moving away from the forums and more on Facebook. Really what it lies in is find people around you, talk to them, see what they're doing, find knowledgeable people, and latch on and ask valuable questions and have them point you in the right direction.
Right.
And so for all of you people out there who are watching this, the 49 of you at the moment, remember that when people are asking you questions, answer and be supportive and helpful, because it's a lot harder to find the information now. When I started, you just had to read on RCC, and people would say, read. And I really feel like that's not as easy of an option anymore.
It's not now, because it's gone. It's not. Yeah. And I think that's, you know, RCC, it's like, back then I would, you know, I'd create like the Wraith. I created a Wraith beginner's guide. And it was like, this is what I suggest you do from this first, then this, then this, then this. And like, that was something that then when the Wraith was popular, I got a ton of people who would say that they used that at the time. Yeah. And it's something I should do more now as well. It's because now more than ever, it's hard to, like, you know, I couldn't even answer your question about where to start. You know, it's Facebook. It's, you get the same guys answering the same questions all the time, and it's so annoying. But it's like, well, it's because you can't just go read it. Yeah. But in all of that stuff is still at RC Crawler, but a lot of it's like the newer stuff isn't maybe organized the same way, or as, you know, it's a you know, chicken or the egg. You're like, well, I don't post on RC Crawler as much now because there's not as much traffic, and I'm worried about getting traffic. It's like, well, you know, if I went there and made quality posts, maybe it would help a little bit with traffic, and, you know, other people have the same mindset.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hit or miss. It's up and down. My next question is an interesting one. Where do you see scale crawling heading in the coming years? Like, where are we going?
So I see it expanding in kind of like all directions. So I see, based on the popularity of it, I see us getting a lot of really poorly made, inexpensive, bad platforms going to come in. Yeah. And because it's popular, and you're going to see no-name brands with no support and no backing and no thought for the future come in and try and sell you a $99 something that looks like an SCX-10. And it's going to, you know, we're going to see a lot of those, and they're going to put bad taste in people's mouth, and they're going to go away because they wanted to buy, cheap. And then I also see the real, the realism that we can achieve now in things, and how we're trying to build things better. And we're using 4340 chromoly on axle shafts and stuff like that now. It's like you can buy a set of 4340 universal style axle shafts from vanquishproducts.com and for $35. Right. For $35. Like that, we were buying $70 TLT CVDs back in the day to try and make our TLTs be able to turn around at all. Right. You'd have to buy 3 sets to make it through a weekend. Right. So I see the amount of realism that we can achieve and how we're going to keep wanting more and better. So I see the top end expanding, and I see that bottom end as well. We're going to see better in both sides. Gotcha. Or I wouldn't say better. We're going to see more on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I only have 2 more things from you, and my second to last question always is, do you currently have any sponsors, and why would you choose to represent those people as opposed to the other companies that are out there?
So it's like several years ago, I guess, probably 3 or 4, something like that. I kind of decided that I was going to not do the sponsored as much. Yeah. And I still, so Futaba is one that I stayed with. Yeah. And Vanquish, really. And then the guys that I supported and, or wanted to promote, yeah, I could, but it was, like Holmes, I wanted to always, John, again, was not far from me in Kansas City. John was an hour and a half from me in Columbia. Right. I traveled all over with John as well. But at the same time, Castle Creations is in Lenexa, Kansas, which is a suburb of Kansas City. So, Mamba Max Pros were right down the street. Right. So that was before John was having PSCs made as well. But then I also used Tekin motors. Ty and those guys at Tekin are awesome. So, I wanted to have some sort of knowledge about, all 3 of those. And then Crawler Innovations is a guy I still stick with, just because it's like I don't know anybody who really puts more time into phones. So I've always just used Crawler Innovations. But I would, if I need foams, I can call Eddie and I can get foams. But I don't the sponsor thing. I never jumped on a sponsored tire. I've tried them all. I run them all. I still own most of them. I loved running Pitbull Rock Beasts in the 2.2s back then. And then, I ran the OT6 pins, Voodoo pins on my comp crawlers. And, now I'm loving some of the Pro Line scale, like the BFG crawler. BFG crawler is like my favorite full size tire, and I love their scale version. Yeah. I really didn't do, I'm lucky enough to be able to call a lot of people if I need something and be able to, to get something. But Futaba is one that I've really, stayed on board with. I've always loved their radios. I helped do like some of the programming stuff with some of the 4PL, even some of like the later 4PK, 4PKS and 4PKSR. I got to work with those guys in Japan on some of that programming. And then, their servos were always awesome because they were big airplane guys, and these guys wanted crazy servos. So they weren't the most cost efficient, but I really liked them. So one of those things.
All right. So my last question really is, what should we expect to see next out of you? So, it's like,
I don't do a ton of, I wish that I could do or did a lot more fabrication and things like that now. But you know, now it's just like, if there's something I really want to get done, it's like, well, we can draw it, and then maybe other people want it. And if there's time, you know, we'll get it machined, and, you know, Jim will knock that out. And then it's just a product. So it's like things that I really want to do. It's like the fabrication, that like need that I have to build something, it kind of like comes, I get to like, that outlet kind of comes out with the products that are developed here. And by no means am I the designer and machinist of all these products by any means. I honestly don't even spend a lot of time designing. It's mainly, you know, managing how everything else, you know, how everything else is going. A lot of the design comes from the other guys here. You know, it's like I get the chance. The few of us that do that sit together at a table and we get to talk about what we want to build. But that kind of like helps get that need to create something out. But if, as far as that goes, the need to create things and new things coming out, tomorrow there'll be, you know, everybody should watch. Shocking news.
I'm excited now. I can't wait.
But in general,
we're done. By the way.
Right. And then, you know, I do have some actual new builds, but it's using stuff that's going to come out, so I can't show them yet. And it's like things like that. I just,
Dude,
like I'm such an attention whore in general. It's like, all I want to do is post this picture. People should see this.
Right.
But it's, you know, so I'm hugely looking forward to this year.
Awesome.
But I wish I could say.
That's fine, man. I completely understand without a doubt. And so really what I'd like to do at the moment is just thank you for saying yes, that you'll be on the show, and yes, you'll let me talk to you, and yes, you'll let me interview you. In all reality, from the most sincere portion of me, like, I have followed stuff since the beginning of me being in this hobby, and so to sit here and ask you questions and have you answer them was kind of surreal. And I felt that way with many of the people who are actually saying yes when I request them to like be on. It blows my mind, and I truly appreciate it.
Man, it's I like talking about toy trucks, so I'm always and you know, I've watched all the other ones so far.
Awesome.
I like listening about toy trucks as well. You know, and I let's see, maybe the first couple of guys I hadn't met in person before. You know, I think like Scott he was newer to it,
right.
Or at least we're not in the same, not newer. I shouldn't say that by any means. He's probably got more experience than me, but at least to like what we're doing specifically, maybe I'm probably wrong all over, but
his scale aspect of stuff is just out of this world. And so that honestly, when you say that, like, that's the part that I'm trying to bring, is there are people all over the place doing this cool stuff. And like, your video stuff is out of this world cool, and you have all these people who are interested in following and picking up all this information, and you're like the video version of RCC or something. But but that's just one aspect. Like, there's so many. It's so big. It's just huge, and that's what I'm looking for. Is I'm trying to hit all of the stuff.
Yeah, that's, you know, it's difficult because it's just like the video stuff. I have lists of video. I have 5 videos right now that I've already shot, and I just like don't want to edit, or it's like I already hate what I shot and I don't want to edit it because of that. And you know, coming up with another idea for video is way easier than actually getting anything. It's just like there's so much to do, and it's so hard to get it all done.
Right.
But yeah, I think it'll be a great platform. I mean, it's you know, as it goes, more and more people. There's never a shortage of people to talk to.
Yeah.
Or you know, interesting. A lot like it'll be interesting to see, you know, trying to find the guys that don't have the time to edit videos or be a social media presence. You know, like that stuff all takes so much work. Just managing a social media page and trying to make an interesting post once or twice a day.
Yeah.
That's, you know, sometimes I'm like, I haven't posted, and I didn't post yesterday. I'm like, I need to post something. Like, I don't have anything I can post. That,
Right.
you know, it's like I only have new. So I'm like going through. I have 8,000 pictures on, like, actually 8,000 pictures on my phone. Like, I'm scrolling through stuff. I posted a picture of my bomber from 2 years ago yesterday.
Yeah, dude. That's so. I told myself a while ago. I'm like, I'm gonna post one image to Instagram every day. Like,
right.
Like this is what I'm gonna do. And so I'll miss a couple days here and there, and that's fine. But like, if I miss more than 2, I go, all right, start scrolling. I have 3,000 pictures on my phone too, and I'm like,
right.
What one have I not posted that's kind of cool? And I'll pick it, and I'll be like, throwback.
Yeah, like, it's just, you gotta find something, or, you know, I'm like, it's raining. I'll throw a truck out there and let it get wet, and I'll go take a picture of it. Perfect, another picture. It's just, you know, all of it. So it'll be, what I was actually trying to think of, I guess, is it'll be interesting to find the guys that don't have time for that.
Right.
But, you know, there's a ton of them that have crazy knowledge and have been doing something for however long. It'll be cool to see, you know, if you can nail some of those guys down. Because a lot of times those guys are not going to be the guys that want to do a lot of talking either.
Right. They're not like, hey, you can put me on camera and then show all of my friends. Like,
right.
They're not those people.
Right.
So the 50 of you that are watching right now, if you know the guy that like doesn't want to do that, I would love to send him a message. Like, he builds the coolest stuff in your club. He's out of this world, like, skilled, and you just, no one knows who this person is. I want to talk to that guy a couple times. And you know what? Maybe I'll shorten them, because I understand those people don't really want to be on video, and I'll do like 4 in a night or something.
Right.
And we just answer like 6 questions, and you can show us cool stuff. Those are the guys I want to talk to. I would love an episode like that.
I have a guy who's texting me here who has the most insane RC museum RC scale and museum you've ever seen, but I don't know if he's the type to show it. So
I have one guy with a super cool collection that I need to send a message to. So that one's coming soon, I'm sure. Okay, so thanks, Josh. I appreciate you for being on. It was a blast talking to you, man. Bucket list item check. So
right.
thanks for doing it.
Hey, no problem, man. It was a blast. I had a good time.
All right, so I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to kind of close things out and end the video, and I will talk to you later.
That sounds good, man. Hey, thanks again. We'll see you later.
Yep, see you. Thanks. All right, so as Josh signs out, one of the things I wanted to say is check out the Van Wert Customs website. Sorry, I just had a notification pop on my phone. Check out the Van Wert Customs website, vanwertcustoms.com. Go to my YouTube page, it's Van Wert Customs. Go to the Instagram, VanWert_Customs. Facebook page, Van Wert Customs. Notice a little pattern there. But anyway, go check out all of those things. They all offer something a little different. I did just post up earlier this evening a couple of things that I want to talk to you about very briefly to help support some of what's going on, improve my tech a little bit, order a little different type of camera stuff, a new adapter, things like that. I am creating some Van Wert Customs swag. It's just little things: scale banner, scale license plate. I did put them on my site. If you're interested, check them out, buy them. I'll ship them to you. All it's going to do is improve this. I'm not looking to make a fortune, but I do have some of that stuff. It's also things that I give away. So if I sell a product, those are going away free in all of my stuff. If I'm at an event, I'm giving them away free. So they're just things that I have, and if you want one and you're willing to pay for it and help support what I have going on, that's amazing. Secondly, I am looking at doing shirts. I'm thinking about it. I'm contemplating it, but it is a lot. So if you are interested in that, feel free to post up and kind of give me an idea of where you're at. And so the last thing that I want to say is thank you all. So if I didn't have all of you people tuning in and paying attention and listening to what's going on, I definitely wouldn't have the drive to continue doing this. And so every week, the number of viewers while it's live grows. You've been with me through technical difficulties. You've been with me through all kinds of crazy stuff. And I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Don't think that any of your names go unmissed, because honestly, I watch as everybody scrolls through. When this is over, I'll go back through. If there were questions or statements or things that I can reply to, I will do that. And it's because I value each and every one of you and truly, truly appreciate you. And thank you for tuning in. If you're catching this after the show, thank you as well, because you just helped the whole thing grow. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I'll flip you to the Van Ord Custom stuff, and have a good night, everyone. And I will see you all next week with Richard Lutz, who is, pardon my noob, some of the coolest scale builds you have ever seen, some of the great things, and I will talk to you then.